This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
Dave, welcome, man. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Jessica. How you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Glad to be back here with you. We've been talking about for weeks how there's literally no shortage of talking points and headlines to break down. I know you've been busy in the office. A lot of folks even calling you going, hey, you know, the current guy that I've been working with hasn't brought up, 9 out of 10 things I hear on your show. I got to come in and talk to you and get the details.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a lot of financial decisions that people have to deal with. I don't care if you're in your working years or especially more so in your retirement planning years, but if the only focus is to invest your money and you're not getting help on how to optimize and make good decisions on when you take your Social Security, how to optimize your pensions if you have those available to you, how do you truly invest to align your investment strategy with your income needs and your growth needs, and also have some protection factors or airbags to protect your money so you don't get blindsided by a market correction. Healthcare planning is a big important part of your long-term planning, estate planning, but tax planning is very crucial as well. And, a lot of people realize that it's not that simple just to save and store and accumulate money. You got to figure out how do you make good decisions in all the other areas. And it comes down to, how do you finance it, pay off your home that works to your advantage, and make capital purchases like cars, put kids through school. So there are things that work for you in those decisions and using the right strategies, and some that don't work so well for you. And these are things that occur in your blind spot that, are costly mistakes, but people don't see it until we point these types of things out.
I mentioned it before here. We are on the cusp of tax season. I've been gathering all my information from my accountant, making sure I have everything in line. And I, too, have asked the question, what if and what if not? What happens with these Trump tax cuts? What does that mean? And that's the question a lot of folks are asking is, will the Republican Congress extend the so-called Trump tax cuts? And if you remember back before Trump's even the inauguration, he said, hey, by the way, within my first 100 days, I'm going to get this thing signed and sealed, delivered. Well, tax guru Ed Slott, he thinks so as well, but he also tells Morningstar that no one should take the lowest tax rates in history for granted.
Every year you have low tax brackets like we have now. Take advantage of them every year. Don't start slowing down just because you know you may have more years of this. Take advantage of every year you have. And if we keep having low rates, take advantage of Roths while we can get them on sale. Taxes are on sale. Everybody likes a sale. You can get tens of thousands of tax savings now. So think about it like that. If taxes were on sale year after year, take advantage of that.
So he mentions the word sale, says everybody loves a sale. David, I love a sale, right? I think everyone loves that BOGO deal they see out there. I wonder if the same can be said about your taxes here. He mentions after-tax Roth. So can you explain what those are and how they can help somebody's retirement picture?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I had the opportunity to work with Ed for a good number of years in his elite IRA planning group, and the guy gets it. He understands, you have to look into the future with what you're doing today to try to be more tax efficient. But it is referring to the after-tax Roths as an opportunity to take your pre-tax retirement accounts, whether it's your IRAs and 401ks, and convert some of that into a Roth. You'll have to pay the tax on the portion you convert from each calendar year. And it has to be really, those decisions should come through after a careful analysis is done for each person's situation, because everybody's so different. And I come across folks that are coming in and they've been doing some Roth conversions, but they're really not a good candidate for it, but they never really evaluated whether it was a good decision on their part. And when you take a look at converting the Roth, and you're going to have to figure out how to pay the tax, the next important decision is what resources do you have to pay those taxes, because you don't want to have to use the money inside your retirement accounts to pay that tax bill, because it becomes a very costly tax expense. And if you're younger than 59 and a half, now you get a 10% early withdrawal penalty to take care of that. So you want to make sure you're planning this carefully. And we do have clients that we've done detailed tax analysis and retirement income forecasting analysis to make sure that they're going to truly benefit from the Roth conversion, because a lot of people don't realize that when you do the Roth conversion, there's some risks that go along with that. And, one thing you have to be really tuned into is, when do you think you're going to need to use that Roth portion to supplement your retirement income? because there's a kind of a break-even period of time where the Roth starts to benefit you, because when you think about it, you say you're paying 30% in taxes between state and federal, and you convert $100,000 into a Roth. Well, now you're in the hole by $30,000 of taxes you paid today. Now, you got to be careful on how you invest that money in the Roth, because I've seen this happen where people are in the market, they just did their Roth conversion, and then they lost 20%. Now you're in a big hole. And recovering from that might take a long period of time to get to the point where you're back to whole, where you break even, you have your initial value that you converted that included the taxes, and then you want to see the benefits of all that tax-free growth on top of that before you really touch the money. So your break-even point for some folks might be 10 to 15 years out. And you really want to know that you're not going to need to access that money for your income planning. And so we kind of evaluate this, looking into the future and looking into the near term of what you're going to need to use your resources for to supplement your retirement. And not everybody should be doing it. And now the fact that the tax cuts might be extended, and I think they will, because President Trump seems to follow through on what he's been promising to do. And taxes are on sale. They're still at a low point, historically speaking, to take advantage of this. But the other thing is, when you do your Roth conversions, and if you're in retirement, we have some clients that are actually, they have so much in pre-tax retirement accounts that they're not going to need most of that money, if any at all. And they want to leave a tax-free opportunity to their children. But we're doing conversions. But when you're taking, when you're on Medicare and you're paying Medicare Part B premiums, you got to be careful and understand that your Medicare Part B premiums will likely increase during those conversion years, because your Part B premiums are tied to your income. And so other things get costlier on these conversions depending on what stage of life you're in. And so it's something that we always evaluate. And if they're a good opportunity for folks that we're working with, we're going to show them how that translates to better benefits by implementing that type of planning. And then we also look at Roth alternative conversions, which are kind of a Roth opportunity on steroids that create some other values and benefits that a traditional Roth can't do. So it's a complicated analysis. I think people really should get some professional help before they pull the trigger. And if you're in that position where you're kind of concerned about having too much money in your pre-tax retirement accounts, and probably your RMDs are going to be substantial later in life, and you're trying to mitigate some of that tax exposure.
You know, David, we've been talking a lot about how we've gotten lots and lots of calls over the past few weeks of people that have been listening for a long time that are finally coming to terms with, I need to make this happen. Let me call David. Some people saying, I've been listening to it for a year or 2 years and I'm finally getting around to it, or I've been listening to you and I realized I'm not getting the same information from this guy I've worked with for 5 or 10 years. What do you think is different about you and, of course, First Financial Planners? What is different about your approach, and why should people come sit down with you and, allow you to put your 40 years of experience to work?
Well, the approach that I take is I look at myself as a financial strategist, right? When you build a house, you want to have a good general contractor that has access to all the best subcontractors, and you have a plan to follow, right? You want to have that plans designed in a way that you know what the outcome is going to be. But when you're following a plan and you know how to tie in all your subcontractors, whether it's the electricians, the foundation people, the carpenters, the finish work people, the kitchen people, a good general contractor is going to make sure he's going to put together all those components in a very efficient way and use the best talent he can find, so that the outcome you have is what you wanted, and you do it with the least amount of risk and overages, right? Now, financial planning, it should be approached the same way. You should have a plan first, which we do. We do a very detailed analysis on all your moving parts. And it's not just your investments. I mean, quite frankly, when you have a plan that's been designed, that's personalized for you, the details of that analysis, by looking into the future with what you're doing today, will expose either bad things that might not work for you or good things. And we want to know today if there are problems that lie ahead. And now we have time today to implement a better approach, better planning strategy, the right tools. There's a lot of moving parts to planning decisions, and that's what we do very differently. And that's why we're getting many calls from people with current advisors. They're looking for the strategic planning approach, and they need to make other decisions other than what their investment plan is really exposing them to.
You know, many have called the last couple of years the new golden age for annuities. You know, their sales have hit record highs thanks to the highest interest rates in a generation. And higher rates mean better returns for annuities. But we have seen rates, begun to slowly come down. So, David, does that put an end to this whole annuity party? What do you think?
Well, I mean, annuities are a great tool if they're the right fit. We always take a look at whether they're going to be a good fit for the overall plan. But when the interest rates are high, obviously people are kind of gravitating from the market into getting those higher rates on their savings opportunities. And, the rates affect your bank type accounts, whether it's money markets and CDs as well as fixed annuities. And there's different types of annuities. And I know we've talked about this before, but when the 10-year Treasury yields go up, the index annuities with the insurance companies get even more robust. And what's nice about that is they have more profits in these treasuries that the insurance companies buy, and they can give better benefits to the clients and create a good payout on income guarantees. So I think with the annuity, you have to look at what are you needing to accomplish for income, and if you want lifetime income that's guaranteed, then you're going to use a type of an annuity that might have an income rider, and people have them. Now, I see people come in with the annuities with the income rider, and now you pay a fee for it. But when we do the analysis for a lot of these folks, we find that they're not going to ever need or use that income guarantee, which means they're paying for a benefit they'll never need. So you want to really make sure before you invest in anything, including annuities, that you're going to use a benefit that it can provide for you. Now, when higher rates are out there and if the Feds increase the rates, then you'll see some shifting out of the market into some of these interest-bearing accounts. But I think when you look at annuities, they tend to provide a higher rate of return on a fixed annuity than a CD traditionally. But with index annuities, you can use the fixed interest rate option, but you also have the opportunity to allocate your money tied to market indexes so you can have more of a competitive return. You just don't know what it's going to be until that index finishes its period for that year, that policy. And they get locked in. So once your gains are locked in, you don't go backwards and your principal is always protected. But I think annuities are a tool that are a great complement to an overall income plan, investment plan strategy. And we do a lot of analytics on each person's financial needs looking into the future. And a lot of people don't have pension. And so their only lifetime income, which does have a cost of living adjustment, is their Social Security. So it's very important that you make great decisions on how to best optimize your decisions when you take Social Security, what strategy you use. But that floor of lifetime income may not be at a level that somebody might be comfortable with, and they want more of a higher floor of lifetime predictable guaranteed income. So an annuity could fit that bill. So one of the biggest challenges that people call and talk to us about is once they retire, they're trying to figure out, how do I create income? And you can create income in different ways. And unfortunately, we see a lot of people making costly mistakes by just taking income or distributions out of their growth plan that they've been using as their accumulation tool before they retired. Works okay when the market's up, but when the market starts losing money, that could derail a retirement really quick. So there are other income tools that we look at and distribution techniques, but we'll look at income notes, but in annuities can be a great fit to create predictable lifetime income. They can create some other value. They can provide some healthcare benefits on those lifetime guarantees. And these are all things that we'll educate somebody on if they're a great fit and a tool to complement their retirement planning and really align with what they want their money to accomplish for them. Because we always want to know, what do you really want to experience in retirement? Do you want to know that you'll never run out of money? Do you want to know that you have airbags on your money so you don't lose money when the markets are going down? Do you want to have a backup healthcare plan strategy? And then when you identify all these features and benefits that you want to accomplish and have better control over the outcome and a higher predictability of success, now we can start looking at all these financial tools in the industry and build that plan out. And so people really want added peace of mind about what they're doing with their finances. And they know it's a daunting experience to try to figure out how do you make your money last for all the years you might need to use it in your retirement? And that could be 20 to 35 years. And when you take into account inflation and taxes, it's a huge challenge along the way with other unpredictable things that could occur that could impact your money.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interests of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information.